Chapter 21, Facility Planning and Design. Original chapter by Richard Miller from Earl Swenson Associates. This is a summary of the chapter from the Handbook of Healthcare Delivery Systems. Now, the best way to really learn about facility planning and design is to be involved in that process. This chapter gives a very high-level overview of some of the steps which that process goes through. The first is in facility planning, and it starts with a facility needs assessment. Now, this is a tricky part because the goal of this part is to determine the future needs of a facility, something which will ultimately fit into a business plan, but that tries to anticipate how many patients will be in the hospital, what their average length of stay will be, therefore how many beds are needed, how many operating rooms, how many emergency room beds, how many staff areas. It's a bit of a complicated guesstimate of what the future is going to hold and what can be fitting with the needs of that community in the years to come. All of this ultimately gets distilled down into something which is called the program. And this program or space program tells the architect or firm how many square feet or how many offices of all the different components within that hospital are required. For instance, how many operating rooms and what the total number of square feet of operating room space should be. And it's an itemized list of the different parts which you would need to build that hospital. And this program then allows the architectural firm to begin to understand on how they can create spaces which meet these requirements. The next step is then to look into a physical plant evaluation where you look at the current infrastructure, its zoning, its parking, and try to understand if it can be upgraded and what the upgrade costs would be. If the site can't be upgraded, potentially then you move on to the site evaluation where you look for new potential sites, weighing the cost of the site, its access, its visibility, the usable space for patient-side services such as parking, emergency rooms, and clinics, as well as the space for the back of the house services, loading docks, helipads, emergency vehicle parking. And ultimately, after this facility needs assessment, after the space program is put together, the physical plant evaluations, the site evaluations, this is all compiled into a master facility plan with ultimately a budget, and this can either be then completed by the primary architect firm or it may be solicited and circulated for proposals from architecture firms on how this master facility plan can actually be designed and executed and created. Which moves more on to the second part, which is the actual design process. That goes through, at least 4 large steps. The first is conceptual design, where it's looking very high level. What are the departments which are required? Which ones go together in proximity, both horizontally throughout the building as well as vertically, trying to understand the general flow. Then move into schematic design in the second part, trying to create more detailed illustrations on this flow and efficiency of layout. Once the general structure is solidified, you move more into design development. Specifically, this is what people think of often when they think of architecture or interior design. It's choosing the finishes and trying to actually flesh out what the spaces look like. At this time, we also insert the specialty systems, such as conveyor belts or tube systems. And then you move into the last part, which is the construction documents. And these are more focused on a construction level, bringing in mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and structural systems. As part of this design process, you may involve, or actually you likely will be involving consultants. And it was kind of interesting, all the different consultants that the book lists here. And I quote, Geotechnical Codes, Americans with Disability Act Compliance, Sustainability, Traffic and Parking, Elevator, Medical Equipment Planner, Signage and Wayfinding, Building Skin, Acoustics and Lighting. Again, very high level overview. The best from my experience is to actually get involved in the design and facility planning projects if you want to begin to understand this process better.